Well, this is technically take two. I didn't like the way the first take came out, so we're gonna try it again. And welcome back, guys. It's been a while. I haven't looked at my last upload, so I don't know how long. And I'm running this back without notes or any of that. It's kind of off the fly. Heads up, the intro is going to be very long. I mean, very long. So, I have projects. A lot of projects. You guys may have noticed that I have renamed a bunch of my videos and put them on a playlist. That's project number 1. I like to call this playlist and alternate videos Brain Rot at Night. I can't promise I will never do that again because I'm likely going to do that again, but anyway, I digress. Brain Rot at Night is... how do I put it? It's the home for all the stuff that I want to talk about that isn't Cyberpunk related. Because frankly, I haven't been doing much in the way of Cyberpunk related anything in my off time. I have been trying to complete my very large backlog of games and pretty much getting nowhere with it. Well, I can't say getting nowhere. I made some pretty good progress on a few games, and that's going to be my next point. I have 3 different scripts for Brain Rot at Night episode 7. I've got on the lineup, and this is how I write things for the most part, is I will write on my laptop. Actually, I've got like 7 different scripts, 7 scripts going at once. And what I'll do is I will write the introduction and some of the body of the script, and I will put it off to the side. And then I'll start another one, and I will get up to, what do you call that? Or up through the body, and I will put it off to the side. And then I will start another one. Repeat process. And from those scripts, the furthest that I have made it in a script is the one that I will pick. And the one that I pick, hey, that one gets an outline. I finish legitimately writing it, and then you guys get a video. Well, like I said, I have 3 scripts for Retro Brain Rot, or for Brain Rot at Night episode 7, and 2 scripts for the beginning of my Cyberpunk lore series, among a couple of other things that I'm also scripting out at this point too, and so on and so forth. The only things that don't really get scripted are when we go ahead and do what we are going to do today, which is where we sit here and scroll through Reddit and pick some posts to go ahead and dissect and so on and so forth. If I even decide that we're gonna do that past this point, because I kind of like the idea of just sitting here talking to you. Anyway, before that even happens, let me just continue on with this needlessly long introduction. What is it that I am working on as of current? Well, I am currently eating crow on one of my old videos. This old video was like 7 minutes, and it was titled "I Don't Like Persona." I need to come up with a little bit of... I kind of need to explain that there's a little bit of nuance to that. I don't like Persona 4, and I don't like Persona 5, or Persona 5 Royal. Basically, once the mascots were able to talk is when I checked out of that series. I'm not going to apologize. But I have a soft spot for Persona 3, and that entire Persona 3, the entire release history, I guess you could call it. So Persona 3, Persona 3 Portable, Persona 3 FES, Persona 3 Reload, yeah, the entire release history I have a soft spot for. So one of my scripts involves me talking about both Persona 3 Portable and Persona 3 Reload. Am I going to compare and contrast them? Probably not, because that's like looking at apples to oranges. But I'm playing them side by side, so you will have a video discussing the both of them. On the other hand, I'm also playing Star Ocean the Second Story. Technically speaking, and that one's going to be a compare and contrast video based off of we're comparing Second Story R to the PSP port. Because I'm not playing that game 6 times. I don't even know if I'm going to play it 4 times. Why would I be playing it 4 to 6 times? Well, Second Story has had 3 releases. It has had Star Ocean Second Evolution for the PS1, Star Ocean Second Evolution for the PSP, and Star Ocean Second Story R, which just released, I think, a year or 2 ago. And it takes me forever to play games. And script number 3 for Brain Rot at Night episode 7 is me talking about why it takes me so long to play games. But that one is I don't think that's going to happen. I want to treat that last one like a psychoanalysis, but as I sit here and I write the script, it just sounds like I'm complaining. So I'm not really going to, I don't think I'm going to write that script. And if I do, I'm going to write that script and just not record it. I'll just write it because it's cathartic. And that's just for Brain Rot at Night. Now, I have 2 other scripts for Cyberpunk that I am writing out that are just entirely lore related. I am writing a script on Johnny Silverhand, played by Mr. Breathtaking himself, and I am writing a script on Raish Bartmoss. Now, I'm kind of hitting a wall here on Johnny Silverhand. I don't know what the fuck is going on in this man's life. Some stuff doesn't add up, other stuff adds up too well, if that makes sense. And from my understanding, a lot of stuff was retconned and rewritten to kind of fit the Cyberpunk 2077 narrative. At least that's what I've come to understand when it comes to reading around on the internet about him. And Raish Bartmoss, as a human being in his, almost 30 years of life, has done quite a lot. I think he was like 28 when he passed, and he had 2 years of effectively 2 years of just undeath, where his brain was working low latency because he was on ice. Like literally his body was frozen. Anyway, that man has done quite a lot in the time that he was alive. So there's a lot to catalog and explain and go through. Like, his lore stretches all the way back to Cyberpunk 2013, which, funny enough, the only retcon that he has to deal with is the spelling of his name. You go from like Roche Bartmoss to Raish Bartmoss. Anyway, there's a lot to that particular character. And then I'm kind of toying with the idea of doing a history of Night City, but I want to wait for the Night City Atlas to come out before I continue on with that, and that should be out by June. And finally, this isn't script related, but I did toss $50 a couple weeks back at the Cyberpunk trading card game. So when that finally ships in December, you and I can unbox that. Oh my god. This opening is like 13 minutes. I apologize. Oh. There is one more thing. I'm also going to be experimenting with this camcorder. Am I using this camcorder to record? Clearly not, it's in my hand. As I get a hang of using a camcorder, there's going to be a little bit more experimental type stuff popping up on this channel, and not in the 18 plus variety, I promise. No, skits at the beginning of videos and so on and so forth, as I sit and mess around with this camera and what have you. I might even have the ability to get a shotgun mic on it. Anyway, before I get too deep in thought on that, let's go ahead and, browse the Cyberpunk Red subreddit. And here we go. No. It's cool art though. I played EVE Online. That's not what this video is for. That would be cool. How would my table feel if I rolled up with an actual cyber deck to play the game? Going to play the Cyberpunk TTRPG for the first time this summer, and I am planning on building a custom cyber deck, Militech themed, to use for tracking my character stats and other stuff at the table. I want to gauge how players would feel about this so I can learn what not to do and what to do. I've never played any TTRPG before, but I am a big fan of the cyberpunk world, and I'm excited to explore the roots of the universe gameplay. I know there aren't a lot of practical reasons for doing this outside of it just be cool, but I also don't want it to be annoying. Any thoughts or advice? Dude, just do it. Like, that's awesome. I mean, I'd think it was a bit much, but I'd also think that it's cool that you really indulged in a passion. But you didn't ask how I would feel. You want to know how your table would feel, and that I can confidently say, how the hell would I know? Yeah, no, truthfully, just go for it. And the only way that you're really going to be able to gauge how much your party would be The only way that you're really going to be able to gauge how little your party is going to like it is by sitting and having the conversation. I know it's supposed to be a surprise, but at some point, if you want to gauge how well your table's going to like something, the most direct route is going to be to ask. GM keeps almost killing us for filler. This week's going to be a filler episode, as the two available characters making death rolls. It was supposed to be filler, but I'm excited about the long-term implications. Wants us to unleash a sentient AI that works for Arasaka into Night City. This AI already has infinite sewer nodes and mind-wiped essentially zombies. This is just something for fun. The tech got traumatized and needed spinal surgery twice in 24 hours, because the med tech was drunk and lost the car keys in him. How do I go about that? Well, simply put, I think your GM's doing a bit much. I need to review this one before I make comment. Alright, so simply put, this person buffed external linear frames because they felt let's just go through it. Hi, Armor Lizard here, enjoying vacation. Have this small house rule I cooked up in the last hour. Buff to external linear frames. When using an external linear frame, all worn armor penalties are reduced depending on the body of the frame. Body 12 to 13. Penalties reduced by 1. Body 14 to 15. Penalties reduced by 2. Body 16 plus. Penalties reduced by 3. Yep, that's it. Why this? External frames have been very underutilized compared to internal frames. This gives external frames an advantage over internal frames even if you can use both. Gives ways to make armor more accessible without wasting a tech upgrade on the armor to do so. Still a possibility though. It's Exoskeletons. They've always been used in countless media to wear heavy armor. Stalker and even Cyberpunk 2077 has enemies use exoskeletons when wearing armor. It's based off ACPA linear frames that add +1, 2, 3, or to move depending on the frame type. So yeah, that's it. See ya. Sadly, I don't know enough about external or internal linear frames to really make comment, but I might be learning relatively soon. Why do I feel like I'm so washed out on camera? Anyway, I might be learning relatively soon, and I will show you why. So for Christmas and my birthday, I was given a 3D printer by my mom. Thanks again, Mom. Really one of the coolest things that you've done, like bar none. Well, I have printed, for starters, a mech. This mech here is going to be, how to put it? It's going to be unmanned, by the way. The front comes off and you can even have a pilot sit in there. It is done in PLA, not resin. I can post all the stuff later. But back to the original point, I have an unmanned mech called the Federal Unmanned Tactical Artillery Unit, the FUTA unit, and I have me here, well, I guess a full body conversion. For the mech, there's already rules for characters like this that I have to learn. Sorry, let's see if I can. There's already rules for characters like this that I can make use of, but for the mech here, I'm not entirely sure. And there's super glue coming off of his booty cheek. I'm not entirely sure what rule set I'm supposed to use for said mech. Like, am I supposed to use a vehicle, or do I assign it its own, like, its own stats based off of a linear frame or what have you? So I will be learning linear frame rules and vehicle combat to both explain to you guys and make use of the mechs I just printed. There's also two characters up. There's also two like regular minis up there that I can print as well. That's fucking handy. So we're just gonna go ahead and, okay, to the creator of this map, thank you much. I'm not entirely sure if if I should save it or not, but I really might. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of open this and bookmark the page, because yes please. This is editing, Justin. You're not going to hear me very well because my mic's all the way over there. I did put the link to that map in the description below, just so you know. Just in color, just so that I have a physical copy and it can go in my folder. So, I've seen a lot of Cyberpunk maps. I've seen, official maps. Official maps are not nearly this fleshed out, this great. Not to mention you have a really nice legend over here. Oh yeah, that's phenomenal. Like, you can't hear it in my voice, but I do very much enjoy that. Vault 11. Is that supposed to be Fallout related? I mean, I guess it is. How do you run free time in your games? Hey everyone. This might be handy for people who want to DM. That's why I'm double checking this one. Hey everyone. For a while now I've been running one-shots and small campaigns for Cyberpunk Red, but I'm looking to transition into longer campaigns and make the experience more immersive for my players. I typically use the beat chart system, which is handy, but I also like to track time with an in-game calendar to give the world a stronger sense of continuity. Lately, I've been trying to figure out how best to handle free time between gigs in a way that feels meaningful without dragging things down. I'm especially curious how others manage to handle downtime and keep players engaged when they're not actively on a mission. How do you handle recovery from injuries after fights in a way that feels realistic but still fun to play through? I'm also wondering how you approach hustles, since they take a full day, and whether you tie them into the narrative or keep them more mechanical. Do you treat downtime as a kind of resource with structure, or do you run it more loosely and player driven? I've looked into some of the dating rules and extra DLC content, but I'd really love to hear how others expand on those ideas or create their own systems to make downtime feel alive. There's a couple of downtime options in the core rulebook, things like side gigs and living expenses. Healing is also an important mechanic that usually requires downtime. I usually just asked them what they were doing throughout the week, had them make a roll based on their answer, and gave them IP/eddies if earned. My players, they role play, but then again they also don't at the same time, because we're also all very new at Cyberpunk. Relatively new. So I'll ask them what they did, and if they want to roleplay out what they did throughout that week, I then go down and we kind of do something similar to this here. Been running downtime in 3 parts per player. Your main downtime is for big things like hustles and healing. If you are doing healing, it will affect your ability to do much of anything, but you can still do light tasks. This is where I can't pronounce that, vignettes. Each player gets 2 of per downtime come in. During a vignette, you can actively fix armor, maintain gear, visit a contact, i.e. friend, fixer, etc. You can go clubbing, go to a nightlife section, have some fun, blow off steam, potentially get mugged, that kind of stuff, or actually live your life outside of work and go shopping, shit like that. So far it works out pretty well, especially if you have players who embody their characters. Yeah, basically, simply put, the way I handle downtime is I will ask my players, okay, what'd you do throughout the week? It's been X amount of time since since the last major gig finished. What was your character doing during this X amount of time? And then we'll sit and we will roll the money, and if any sort of improvement points were earned, I'll give them those extra improvement points there. However, if they have an idea for what they were doing during downtime, I will have them sit there and roleplay out their downtime. Oh, there's a new DLC release. I might have to download that and talk about it later. Shaggy, if you're watching, we still need to do this. Looking for a GM to run a one-on-one duet style game with me. Still need to play that one-on-one, and I still need to roll some characters. How many control nodes / files can be on a single floor? As a Techie 4 Nomad 2 multi-class, I'm planning to install 2 automated turrets on my car, but as far as I understand, they require net architecture to function autonomously, and each needs to be connected to the control node that is controlled by a daemon. Also, there probably needs to be a file with a list of people that can approach the car without being shot while it is in guarding state. If I fabricate 3-floor architecture, can both control nodes and daemon be placed at the last floor, file on the second, and password with some black ice on the first? What is the limit to how much non-black ice software can be placed on one floor? Or is it limited to one piece of software if there is no black ice? Do control nodes require daemons at all? Considering that example of home security net architecture on page 218 doesn't have one at all. If the daemon is not needed, then what is the combat number of the control node? It's so frickin' confusing. This has been debated and has not had a satisfactory explanation officially yet, particularly when Tales from the Red came out, and some of the example arches that there imply that a single node can administer multiple defenses of the same type. There are those who argue against this, and not without good reasoning, but it is something that has been discussed, and I personally, as a GM, prefer to run it this way for purposes of simplicity and lore accurate budgeting, as I cannot stand arches that are way outscaled in terms of price from the owner's justifiable budget. So if you choose to follow this approach, then one control node can potentially administer 2 or more turrets on a single floor. From a purely mechanical standpoint, sprawling net arches just suck and slow the game down. I don't know where I got the 2 devices per control node myself, but that's how I run it too. Although I consider like one targeting system to be a device. So if I have 2 convergent guns but 1 aim point, that's 1 turret for my consideration. If the turrets are independently targeting, that's 2 turrets. I haven't gotten explicit yet in game, but it's basically how I can do suppressive fire without just defaulting to an assault rifle turret. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that's how I've been running net architectures as well. And doing it any other way, you know, one gun per floor, that does get to be quite fucking lengthy. Okay, onboard weapons are different from turrets. If you are planning on getting actual turrets, then you can only place one per floor. I can't find where it says for certain, but that's what the rolled net arcs page 211 show. Each floor has one function, so each floor is one password, one file, one control node, and one empty. Alright, so per raw, on each floor you can have one control node, 1 to 3 black ice, 1 file, 1 password. A control node can control as many items as you want, but it will be activated only once per turn, meaning only one of those items will be activated per turn. A floor can be tech upgraded to have more than one item in it. An example, 2 control nodes, 1 password, and 1 black ice file, or 2 control nodes, 1 password, and 1 black ice, 1 file, and 1 password. Okay, concerning demons, they didn't occupy any floor. They are moving in the net architecture, activating control nodes, and defending the net arc against non-authorized net runners. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so starting out, you can have 1 file per floor. You can have one empty floor, 1 control node, 1 file, 1 password, at least as a player building. It can be upgraded to 2 control nodes, or 2 files, or 2 passwords. You get what I'm getting at? And then the control nodes themselves, from what I'm understanding, it's 1 control node, or a bunch of shit can be hooked up to the control node, but only 1 piece of hardware can be active at a time. And the demon is activating these pieces of machinery as per as per the input from the user. So, or the preset input. So let's say the program is to, or the security program is to flip through channels on a security feed, and then when unauthorized user pops up on camera, activate that unmanned turret on feed 4 or whatever. That makes sense. I mean, my example doesn't exactly pertain to a vehicle situation, but hopefully it gets the point across. Alrighty, I think that about does it. I will now have roughly almost an hour's worth of footage to edit, and that's gonna take a while. So if you guys enjoyed scrolling through the Cyberpunk subreddit with me, go ahead, hit the like button on this video, maybe subscribe, just maybe, and maybe leave a comment to tell me what fucking script I should finish. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and indulge in one of the video games I need to complete. That, or I'm taking another nap. I don't know what yet. And hopefully some of the music that I add will be able to cover up some of my heavy breathing. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you guys later on.